So happy to be here.
Thank you. All right, I think we're going to get started
Are you
here.
drinking out of your wool mug?
What was that, Nonika?
I was asking Jackie if she's drinking coffee out of her wool mug.
Nice. All right, I think we're going to get started. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to P&P Live. My name is Heidi, and I'm the Community Outreach Coordinator at Politics and Prose. Thank you for joining us and tuning into this virtual format where we continue to bring authors and new books to you. I have the pleasure of hosting our event this morning, and I am delighted to welcome our guests, NoNieqa Ramos and Jacqueline Alcántara. Just a few housekeeping points before we get started. You can click the link that we're going to drop into the chat box to get your own copy of Your Mama. And as a special offer, anyone who purchases a book this morning will be entered into a giveaway for a mug designed by Jacqueline. Jacqueline, do you want to show the mug? Beautiful. It's from a spread in the book. So
It
please,
says Your Mama So Woke. You'll see the page in a few minutes.
yeah. So again, you can click on the link in the chat box and you'll get entered into the giveaway that way when you buy a book. If you have questions for our guests, you can click the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen and add one there. At the end of the chat, our guests will have time to answer some of your questions. You can also upvote the questions you like and you want most answered. Now on to the event you're waiting for. NoNieqa Ramos is an educator, literary activist, and writer of picture books and young adult literature. Her books include The Truth Is, which was named one of the best YA Latinx books of 2019, and The Disturbed Girls Dictionary, a 2018 New York Public Library Best Book for Teens and a 2019 YALSA Best Fiction for Young Adult Selection. She is a proud member of Las Musas, a collective of Latinx children's authors. She lives in Virginia with her family. Jacqueline Alcántara is a freelance illustrator and artist who spends her days writing, drawing, and globetrotting with her dog Possum. She won the 2016 We Need Diverse Books Campaign Mentorship Award and is particularly excited about promoting inclusiveness and diversity in children's literature and illustration. You may recognize her work from Baptiste Paul's The Field, Tammy Charles's Freedom Soup, and Alicia D. Williams' Jump at the Sun. Jacqueline lives in Chicago. And with that, I will turn the event over to them.
Hello, good morning, everybody.
Good morning. So Jackie and I thought we'd start off with reading the book. And so I'm going to wait just a moment for Jackie to pull it up on the screen. We have a gorgeous PDF, and I'm so excited because this really is only my second time reading the book from cover to cover. So I'm going to start with this gorgeous cover, Your Mama.
Oops, sorry, 1 second.
Quite okay. Every single time that we have these pauses, I just get to enjoy the artwork. So I told Jackie that at some point they're going to see the background of my house filled with these drawings, just like they are in her studio. Your mama, so sweet, she could be a bakery, all frosting, powdered sugar, and pastries. Leaves love notes in your almuerzo homemade. She's the cinnamon to your tembleque, the tres leches to your cake. Your mama, so strong, she like a Marine. Up 3 flights of stairs, carries the groceries. When you both had that fever, carried you to emergency. Your mama dressed so fine, she could have her own clothing line. The way she walks into a room, shoo, she's an ad for fancy perfume. Nobody could walk in her high heel shoes. That's why you couldn't help messing with the makeup she keeps in her purse. You want to look just like her, but Your mama's so forgiving, she lets you keep on living. Sometimes your mama's cray-cray, but she's gonna be okay. She can get her hair done another day. I mean, it's been years since she's gone to the bathroom on her own or heard anything anybody's saying on the phone. Wouldn't it be nice to have couches that weren't trampolines? Hey, a mama can dream, but she wouldn't change a thing. Go back. Your mama, a brainiac, mo better than any app. A drone, she'll teach you to work it from her phone. Got math problems? She could solve them. Plus, you're both library VIPs because she knows everything about everything. She's your A-team. By the way, how does mommy know everything? Woman catches all your vibes. Must read minds. That's how she slays birthdays, holidays, anniversaries, weekends, vacays, getaways. You could hardly wait. She's got road trips whipped, and that's not even the half of it. Your mama's so funny. The dinner table is her stage. She starts up with back in the day, and you can hardly wait. She keeps the jokes cooking, the comida deliciosa and warm. She got everybody begging for more. Your mama so woke, she gonna stand by and watch injustice? Nope. She takes all you kids when she votes. With posters homemade, she marches in every parade. And your mama's so rich, she rolling in it. She got friends at work, at church, around the hood. Life is good. She got cousins by the dozens, hermanos in droves, and you, her gold. She loves you more than you'll ever know. You're her wish, her hope, her prayer, her push, her pull, her miracle. Your mama's all of that. So let's give her 2 snaps, a circle, and a twist. Mad dap, a hug, and a kiss. Let's raise the roof. Whoop whoop, because it takes 2, your mama and you. Truth. Thank you for listening. And thank you, Jackie. So I want to transition to seeing some of Jackie's process, because I'm sure as everybody is looking, I always appreciate the incredible collaboration that happens. Even when you're not speaking, there's this beautiful synergy that goes on between a writer and an illustrator as you're creating. And I was just saying at an event yesterday that every time I look at the pages, Jackie, I always, the beauty of a picture book, right? I appreciate more and I see more layers to that. So Jackie, I was wondering if you could share some of your process on the screen.
Sure. All right, let me pull up a little slideshow here. I'm just gonna see, I think I have to play this, so Noni, let me know if it looks okay, all right?
Okay. I am seeing. We are ready.
All right. Well, I start my process by doing the fun parts of the research, which usually include eating or traveling or talking to people, meeting people, just kind of brainstorming. So I was very happy that there was a lot of delicious treats mentioned in this book. So I started by going to some bakeries.
Ooh, I like that. Field trips.
Obviously, I know what these things, what tres leches tastes like, but you know, I mean, it's good to remind yourself.
That's the best answer.
But I take a lot of walks, just try to get a lot of ideas. So take a lot of pictures. These are just pictures actually from the neighborhood I live in Chicago and Pilsen. But I also went, you know, just kind of as you're living your life, just I take a lot of pictures when anything kind of is reminds me of the book as I'm working on it. And then once I really start to sit down and draw everything, I put them all together. But I also, with this book, thought a lot about my own memories of my mom growing up. That's me and my brother, and my mom always let us lick the batter when she made cookies. She's a great baker. So I thought about that right off the bat with Noni's beautiful first line, "Your mama's so sweet, she could be a bakery." We were, and probably still are, completely addicted to raw cookie dough, so I had to put that in there. I love ice. Just buy on the street, so I have maybe you'll see a few of these things that you remember in the book, but sometimes they become little tiny details, and sometimes they become ideas for a lot bigger pieces of the story. But then I kind of sit and I draw a lot of the little things that I see, or just anything that comes to mind. So these are just some pages from my sketchbook, and maybe you could recognize that boot with the rose. I don't know where that idea really came from, but once I drew it, I was like, that's got to be in there. That's got to be your shoes. So as you guys are working on your stories, writing and drawing, you know, this is where I start, just drawing lots of little tiny things and seeing how all of the ideas can kind of come together in the end. Little pieces from pictures, or just little things from my memory. Here's all the little drawings of all the delicious things I had to eat during my research. I tend to go overboard on that part of my research. So these are some scrolls, and this is maybe kind of one of the places I started to get the idea for including banners. And that was actually just from one of the photographs I took walking through my neighborhood. And then just started to draw the little details from that. And I thought, oh, the banners are could be a really cool element in the book. And then I just started to play around with that. But then I also do a lot of drawings to get ideas for the characters. So these are just some drawings of actually of a friend and her daughter. Oops. Nope. This is, I got a lot of ideas just from women I love, artists, musicians. This is Rosalia, who's the Spanish musician. And so I take a lot of screenshots from her music videos or from photographs I find, and take inspiration from her dancing. This is Selena, who most probably, maybe, I don't know, actually, maybe some of you guys might know her, but same thing. I take a lot of screenshots and do a lot of drawings. I like to draw with a lot of energy and a lot of movement, so it's easier place for me to start drawing from people in action than trying to come up with an idea for a character that feels very static and still. So I like to start with a lot of what you call gesture drawings. And then I just do lots of other little drawings from people that I kind of like, you know, and different characteristics from the mom, and try to put them all together. You know, the character here, she's funny, she's sweet, she has a good sense of humor, she's strong, she's all of these things. So I kind of think about all of those things when I'm putting together the character, and how she looks when she's gonna laugh, how she looks when she's gonna dance, how she looks when she's gonna be carrying groceries, all of those things. And here's some sketches once I kind of got the idea for the banners. I just played around with that a lot and thought, tried it out in different ways. How's it going to look? And how can I incorporate that into the pages? How can I use Noni's beautiful words, you know, in some of the banners? And I thought that would be a great element to put in the lines that start with your mama to kind of highlight those moments. So then when I have ideas, these are called thumbnails because they're really quick little drawings and they can even be the size of your thumb. So very, very quick little sketches. So I'm going to show you kind of how I progressed with one page. So maybe you guys remember the page where it says, your mama's so woke, she's going to stand by and watch injustice? Nope. So this is how that page started. Just a teeny tiny little idea of the mom walking with the kids, and then them marching in the parade, and then the jump rope. It was just a different idea. Maybe the kids would be jump roping beforehand, but not all of them get to end up in the book. So I end up with this little idea, and I kind of develop that further and think about how they're going to stand, if they're going to be standing, walking. We see the back, we see the front, from which angle. But I really liked seeing them, the four of these characters, just from the back and seeing them marching almost away from us. So then that page kind of gets sketched out like this. Very quick, simple, but pretty closely, you know, the composition to my very initial idea. But just kind of getting it tighter and adding more details. And so then that's the final page. So you can see kind of how my process is there, how the page progresses. And I have a couple little videos so you guys can watch how I start. So I start everything. If you guys want to guess out there what materials I use, you can watch this little video. There's a couple little videos. So I start with pencil. And then here I'm adding marker. You guys can probably see a bunch of these markers behind me too. I use these markers to start to fill everything in. And I just keep adding and adding and adding layers of marker. Oops, gonna go a little slow. Skipping. There we go. So building up the color, layer after layer after layer. I just really like markers. I think they're a lot of fun and they end up with a really beautiful, vibrant color. Video might be skipping for you guys. Adding in little details. Adding in more color. So this is just one page. So I do this for every single page. But it's a lot of fun. This is a very fun part of the process because basically it's just a big coloring book at this point. And I kind of get to sit and just color in, have fun, listen to music, listen to podcasts, relax. Just like probably some of you guys out there might like coloring in a coloring book. It's fun to draw your own drawings too, but then sometimes it's nice to just sit back and enjoy the process of coloring. Not think about it too much. So getting closer to being finished here. I'm going back in with a pencil and pen at this point because I really like the texture of a really thick pencil. But then sometimes you need to do some tiny little details. So I have mechanical pencils too that are very, 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 very tiny. You can see how tiny that is to get the really little details. And then for this book, for each book, I like to think about adding a new element and a new part of my process. So for this, I wanted it to kind of feel like the flash tattoo designs. And those kind of have this pastel-y background. So on all the pages in the book, I just did a little pastel. And then I scanned all of those in, and then I put them together so you can kind of see the end product here of the marker and then the pastel background. So that's how the look came together for all of the pages in the book. If you guys have any questions, we're going to get to some questions in a couple of minutes. So I'd love to hear some questions if you have any about my process or NoNieqa's process. But yeah, that's that. Let's see. Oh, hi.
Yeah, I'm back. Hi, that was amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I love the photo of you and your brother. That was awesome.
Yeah. Spent a lot of time sitting on the kitchen table eating raw cookie dough.
That was awesome. I love this book because I think it really resonates with caretakers in general. I think, grandmothers, aunts, friends. So NoNieqa, could you talk a little bit about the influences the maternal influences that inspired you when you made this book?
So this book journey has been fascinating because I myself was raised by a single father, and many single moms in my tias, and in the matriarchs in my family. So in creating this book, and thinking about what I want the book to do or to feel like for people who are reading it, you're capturing that essence in your own reflection. This is about the people who love you. And this was embodied in that image you see, that gorgeous image on the cover. But yes, the idea that this is for caregivers, and this idea that I wanted to honor how caregivers can make mundane things extraordinary, and also how some things such as carrying the groceries up the stairs or having to take your child to the emergency room in the middle of the night, which I have a very powerful memory of having to do that myself. When of course my spouse is out of town, because everything happens when he's out of town. And having to figure out how to, having to be that mom to say, I have to get up in the middle of the night and take this child and figure this out because this is an emergency. So just basically honoring all these things, but doing it in a way that's super fun and just a joy and a deep breath, and we can all kind of just exhale, is what I was trying to do. So when I read all the posts that are out there right now for Mother's Day, one honoring the amazing moms. I got to see a glimpse of Jackie's mom at our launch, and I thought, that's so beautiful. Her mom was at the launch. Or, honoring those caregivers, like my father or like my aunts, that's what I think of. And I also kind of want to put this out there too. Some of the most important pages to me are the funny pages of Sometimes Your Mom Is So Cray Cray, because I also want to honor the fact that, no, it's not about being perfect.
Right.
It's not about always being on point. It's about being, extraordinary loving and centering everything on loving your little, however that's going to be.
Just showing up, right? Just
being there in the best capacity you can, especially after this past year. I want a mom to feel, or a caregiver to feel like I'm seen, and I'm enjoying turning these pages, and I'm feeling honored and not exhausted. And that's what I was going for. Like, it's not a sense of you have to have a cape, it's a sense of we see you for exactly what you're doing right now to the best of your ability.
Absolutely. I have to say, she does it in style. Jacqueline, I don't know if you had someone in mind when you drew those pictures, but I wish I had half of the amount of style that mom has. She's amazing.
Yeah. My mom's amazing, but I'm not a mom yet, so I kind of was looking at it from the kid's perspective and kind of wanted her to just be a bit of a superhero kind of character, like can do it all and looks amazing at the same time. Because, I mean, that's how I thought of my mom growing up. I was like, you know, I think we're always in awe of the people that raise us and think that they're just like the coolest people ever. So I kind of wanted to bring that perspective to the mom character.
Yeah. Well,
And I want to add this just from, because you just made me think, Jackie, of how I saw my dad. I thought he was gorgeous. I just thought he was so handsome. And I was, when he would dress up, you know, clean up real nice and put in this suit and wear his cologne, that's how you see your caregiver. You know, when Jackie embodied that in a woman, I completely identified. I'm like, yes, my dad is just the most, even now I'm like, isn't he so gorgeous?
Oh.
Yeah.
And that's how I saw my theas when they were dressed up. You were proud of them. You were like, you know, that's so the fashion that Jackie has. Yes, I was floored. I'm like, can I please find those boots somewhere?
Yeah, totally.
Little things that I could have.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I see that we have some questions here, and just a reminder, people can click into the Q&A box and they can ask any questions there. This question, it's actually a comment. It's from Tammy Charles, and she said, "Yay! Wanted to say huge congrats to you both. Would love to know how much of the process was collaborative in the making of the book. Hugs from Tammy Charles."
Do you want to do? I mean, I'll just give mine. Like Jackie and I were not in communication. During the process, but that varies from book to book because in my second experience, it was different. And I think that sometimes there's a synergy that happens when someone chooses a project. So one of my questions to Jackie, when I was thinking, what would I ask Jackie? Choosing the project and saying yes. When you do that, and when you know the artist says yes, that they are resonating, and Jackie can speak to that herself, and that kind of synergy of saying, just as you saw in the slideshow, right, was what guided Jackie. And so for us, we did not personally speak, right, Jackie, until, you know, we were past, you know, in the marketing and phase and review phase. So.
Yeah, I had the honor of illustrating Tammy Charles's first picture book, Freedom Soup, as well. And, you know, the same, like, I think a lot of people are surprised when they realize that the author and the illustrator never talk until the book is finished, pretty much. All of your communication, my communication, is through the editor or the art director. And they're kind of our middleman so that I can have my own ideas and bring my thoughts to the book and not, you know, kind of be free to add my visual narrative to it, you know, in my own time. And but I guess in choosing books, honestly, I have a very quick gut reaction, I think, and I know it when I love it, kind of like love, you know, you just like no, but you don't really know why. And then you figure it out as you really start to dive in and think about what you're going to add to it and how you're going to create it. Then I realized, oh, this is why I loved it so much. And this is what this reminded me of. And that's why this line resonated with me so much. But for me, it's a process of kind of similar to what some people say, you know, like you write to find out what you think about something. And for me, it's the same process in drawing. I draw to figure out what I think about something. And sometimes you just need to give yourself that time to kind of sit with it and think, oh, that's why my mama, so sweet, she like a bakery. That's why I loved it right off the bat, because my mom is a bakery, you know, like my mom is an amazing cook and just was always in the kitchen making pies, cookies, scones, cakes, like everything. And all of our friends knew it, and they would always come over for my mom's brownies. And but I don't necessarily know that right away, but it's just in the process of drawing and sketching and coming up with the visual narrative that I realize why.
Yeah, and it's also interesting because this is something I didn't, you know, I'm a new picture book writer. This is the debut. So when you start off, you know, with my first editor, you talk about lists of people you want to ask. You know, you think, so we sat down. I can't remember where we were. We were in Manhattan meeting and talking, who would you like to ask? You know, who do you envision drawing in? And at the time, speaking about the energy that happens, you know, I'll never forget looking at, Jackie's work in the field in a children's bookstore with my son, and just drawn to it and looking at this work, and then later on, years later, kind of seeing that this person could potentially be the illustrator. And when Jackie talked about movement, Jackie, when you were showing your sketches about how you don't want static images, I mean, that is what draws me, is that Jackie's pictures dance and they radiate energy,
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, thanks.
So NoNieqa, I know you have, I know you've got two, they look beautiful. I was looking at your website, two picture books coming up. So, you have your YA books, now you're doing more picture books. Can you tell us about the differences and the process, and are you drawn to one more than the other? Or can you tell us a little bit about the picture books that are coming out?
So I actually have one here in this box, and it's absolutely killing me because I can't open it. I'm following the author's bill, doing an unboxing, and I know it's in there. So I'm an experimental writer, if you're looking about the overarching aesthetic, and that can be very difficult in the publishing world. Your mama, think about how experimental that is to write a picture book on a your mama joke. Let's sit with that for a second. So what brings my work together is that I'm a risk taker. So I think that's something, and I'm a risk taker and also in the way that I write. So with Hair Story, it is non-traditional rhyme. It is more like spoken word. The rhyme structure is not the same every page. It's not, where you can go A, B, it's at all. And so that's a risk I'm taking and seeing how that goes. So I guess I'm definitely a non-traditional writer in many ways. So what's different between them? I find them both these little portals that I go into, and I find respite depending. Like if I'm working, I'm usually going back and forth between them. And but that's what ties them together. And I think it's not necessarily like I'm trying to push an envelope, but what's interesting to me, when you're reading Jackie's bio about trying to do equity and inclusivity and diversity, of course we're on the same page. We often think of that as just representation. Oh, these ingredients, like a recipe, are in the book. So that's it. Yay, it's got representation. And to me, I push back on that and say, my voice is my upbringing, my Boricua upbringing, my Bronx upbringing, this bringing together of the fact that I do have master's degrees, but I also grew up speaking, with what we're calling code switching, So that's what's going to be in my work. And what's funky is when it's in a picture book. So what I'm interested to see is how that will go, because I think one thing I want everyone to see is diversity is also voice. And how we're allowed to speak or not. So that's what I'm doing in both those realms.
Yes. That's actually a great segue into a question for Jacqueline. I know you have a connection to We Need Diverse Books. And for those who are watching and they don't know about that, could you talk a little bit about what We Need Diverse Books is and what they do?
Yeah, sure. Well, it kind of started, I think, in 2015, just as really a hashtag trying to bring awareness to the fact that there's too small of a percentage of books that have diverse characters and are by diverse creators. And so they started the hashtag bringing awareness, and then it's kind of developed into an organization that has done amazing work to bring mentorships, internships into the publishing industry, and just really making it something that people are aware of. And so I was lucky enough to get a mentorship the first year that they offered it. And that really helped me a lot. My mentor was Carolyn Flores, and she was just great in seeing my work, telling me how to improve my work, but then also just on the networking side, she was great and introduced me to a lot of people, and my now agent, Adriana Dominguez at Full Circle. So really at both ends of the spectrum, right? Like the creative side and the business side. And yeah, I was definitely very fortunate for that to happen. So thanks to everybody out there who does that.
I use their website a lot when I'm looking for inspiration for like a newsletter or for, in the bookstore
Yeah.
displays. And so I go to their website a lot and I find that they're great. Yeah, I really love having that resource.
Me too. Yeah, amazing resources.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's still time to ask questions if anybody wants to jump in, but I do have a question of my own that I wanted to ask. And Jacqueline, this is for you. Could you tell us more about what inspired the tattoo motif? Because it's so unique and it like draws your eye. And I'd love to hear for you to talk about that. And then NoNieqa, if you want to just talk about your response to that illustration.
Yeah, I kind of have a personal motto that the story should lead the style. And while I feel like I have a particular style within the books that I've done, I kind of really try to listen to the story and to what it's telling me it wants and needs. And so in just playing with it, I think I kind of showed a couple slides of just from pictures I took, and then I just do little drawings from there. And maybe I was drawing a couple of the banners. And another thing I always think about is kind of a thread throughout the book, like visually, and picking pieces from the manuscript, right, that can help me with that. And so all of the lines that start with the "your mama" joke, I was like, what can I do on each of these pages that's going to kind of be a continuous visual thread throughout? And then I think my brain went to I love mom tattoos, like old school I love mom tattoos, and started playing around with those and drawing those, and then thought, oh, this could really, really work and really be fun visual motif. But then I kind of felt like, oh, it doesn't really tie in that well. Like, how can I tie it into like more of the meaning of the story? And so then I kind of got to the end, and I was trying to figure out what to do with the hashtag. It ends with a hashtag, the manuscript, like this isn't her words. It ends with the truth. And I thought, how does that fit in? And I thought, you know what? The mom has a truth tattoo. Like that's where this is all coming from. She has to have a truth tattoo. So you see her tattoo here, but you only really see it at the very end. I think that you could kind of see her little tattoos, a couple of them, but I didn't want it to be a big thing in the story, but kind of just a little detail that you see. Maybe you see, maybe you don't. But for me, thinking about having it on her physical body made a lot more sense to have that throughout the story. And kind of as you go, they get a little bit more, wrapped up within, so like toward the end, they're kind of part of the big banner and they're a big part of the tattoo. So kind of tried to lead it up to being all integrated together. But really it was also just a fun new thing for me to incorporate into the book that I hadn't done before. And I always kind of try to do something a little bit new and different. And doing the hand lettering was really fun for me. I hadn't done that before. And just that style. And also really playing off of the way that the manuscript was written. It's so different. I felt like it needed something to complement that. I hope NoNieqa liked it.
No, I'm sorry. I'm just confirming. There's so many things about it that I love, and I'll say that tattoos in themselves have deep indigenous roots, actually, and the idea that they've gotten so many negative, stereotypes, affiliations with a tattoo is to me, I'm going to go back to colonization. So the idea of reclamation of what tattoos in themselves mean, to me spoke to my soul. And, I have to say, as somebody who is a tattooed mama.
Yeah, beautiful.
And it's not showing, Jackie can ever center myself on a screen. I'm inept, but this is spiritual for me. So this idea that tattoos are reclaimed really, again, speaks to why it is that when the idea of Jackie being the illustrator was like, yes, of course, and Jackie is looking at a text is saying, yes, I'm going to choose this project, right? Because illustrators pass on projects, right? Because they don't, that's just not speaking. to me was perfect for this idea. And I think Jackie just said that, for the idea of a different, unique text with a mama, a human being, a caregiver, someone who's devoted. That could be a teacher to me, to their little. And all that glory of rejecting our perceptions or conceptions of what that's supposed to look like, right? That's what your mama rejects. It rejects patriarchy. Obviously, it smashes the patriarchy, but it rejects the idea of how we think of caregivers and moms themselves. Somebody once said to me, "Oh, your book is the anti-Betty Crocker," and it made me laugh. But I'm like, but see, Betty Crocker never existed. She was never a real person. She was fictitious. These brown mamas who have been doing it have always been here, continue to be here, and are here when they don't get all that praise, and they definitely don't when it comes to social representation. Jackie spoke about it with books, but that's the case in movies. That's the case, everywhere. And in fact, speaking of We Need Diverse Books, I did an article on that and Your Mama, and speaking about not only the invisibility, but when there's rep, it's often just so hugely problematic and stigmatizing and just all sorts of things. And I thought, no, she's this single mom, maybe, or, and what do we think of what a single mom? Is she divorced? Is she just doesn't want to be with anybody? Is she dating? It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Is she never going to be with somebody because she's ace? I love the idea that it leaves room for this mom to be who she decides to be. And she is perfectly happy. And look at the picture there. If you look at the drawing, this is on several pages. Look at the way the daughter is looking at the mom.
Oh, so much love.
That's the point, yes. Right? So, yeah.
Well, I loved being here with the two of you this morning. It's such a beautiful, joyful book. I hope everyone gets. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. One more question. Let's not leave before asking Maria's question. Have either of you ever done workshops or webinars with a school age audience? I'm a classroom teacher, and I'm also involved with a foundation that supports young Latinas. I would love to invite you both together or individually to present your professional trajectory as an inspiration for young girls. I love that. That's from Maria. So I don't know if that's something that you all are planning or something to aspire to.
Yeah, Maria, first, thank you so much for being here and taking your time. And clearly what you're doing is just such a tremendously needed endeavor. And I know that Jackie and I have enjoyed working together and on several events, and absolute purpose in life is to help children. So I know that maybe afterwards we can put some information to connect Maria and the audience, because that's exactly why we're here. We're here for the children.
Yeah, both NoNieqa and I were teachers before, and so a big part of this whole, thing that I love most is going into schools, and it's been really hard not to this past year because it's just a big piece that I've been missing, like seeing how kids react to this book and sharing it with them. And I can't wait to be able to go back into schools and read it, it live and see people and talk about my journey as an artist and an illustrator, because I just want more people to know that it's a real job, it's, and how many people love to draw as you're a kid. And as you grow older, you don't know how to make that into a job. Like, I want people to know that it's a real thing, and your perspective and your experience in life is really unique and can add so much to this field and to the art field in general. So to keep pursuing it and to hold on to that love if you have it.
Yeah, we need it. We need more artists. Absolutely.
Yes. Yes. So if you're a kid out there watching today and you love drawing, do not give up on that. Stay with it.
Exactly. Don't.
No,
the world needs your stories and your drawings for sure.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, Maria would be happy to chat about that.
Okay. I think we have Maria said she bought a book, and so we have her contact information there, so we could pass that on to you too. All right.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you. Well, I think we're about at the end of our time here, but again, I just wanted to thank both of you for being here. Like I said, it's such a beautiful, joyful book, and the information there to buy the book is in the link. And again, if you buy a book today, then you get entered into the giveaway for the mug that Jacqueline designed, and from the book. So take a look there. And yeah, so thank you for being here. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for the viewers. Thanks to the two of you for being here on a Saturday morning. We really appreciate it. And yeah, just thank you for being here and for doing what you do.
Thank you. This was
Thank
wonderful.
you, and happy Mother's Day.
Thank
Mother's
you.
Day.
Thank you.